was just kind of thinking of stuff, as I do when I wake up and I don't have much of anything to do, or I don't feel like doing much of anything. So, I was thinking for a little bit, which is, kind of dangerous, I guess, but, it happens. A tiny big target or a tiny pink nugget. I don't know why. What the fuck? I don't even know why I said that. Anyways, fuck. Jesus Christ. Anyways, so I was thinking about what this is my thing. Like I watch like I watch like this is my problem, right? I have this problem with a lot of what some people say, and I'll just say it. Like I don't like Abe's series on like men, it's not your fault, but it is your fight kind of thing. I don't like that whole idea because I do think it's men's fault. They men are weak. I think this is the problem with everything is right now with that is that men are fucking weak. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if you really look at society right now, what is the biggest problem? Hey, Kat, what is the biggest problem with society right now currently? Is it is it this blame game that we've all been baited into? Or is it the fact that people don't take like responsibility for themselves? Like they truly just don't take responsibility for themselves at all in the things that they do at continuing what is the status quo within society, right? And I don't think that there's any value in telling yeah. But the thing is, like, I don't think that people actually like try to build any type of life that's not holistically like about them completely. And I don't think there's any value in like pointing out women do this, men do that. Women do. There's a lot of bad women in the world, true, but they don't like they ultimately don't like really matter in the grand scheme of things. And I think that it's more so the person that kind of just passes off all blame to something else, to a societal problem, to a cultural problem. I can't do this because of, I can't do X because of Y. But how weak is that truly? And like, when it comes to the whole idea that it's, this is what I got, this is just what got me thinking about, because I was just thinking about that whole idea with Abe and what he's talking about. It's not your fault, but it is your fight. It is your fault and it is your fight. It's both. And it's not just for men, it's for women too. The cultural issues that are being proliferated are not by just one or the other. There's honestly only one solution to it, right? And this is where, I get into a lot of disagreements with people. They agree. But this is where I get a lot of disagreements with people. I don't think the only way that anybody could actually contribute and create a functioning society is by basing their life around what is the most important thing. What is the most important thing? God is the most important thing. That's what you should center your whole life around. That's what gives purpose. That's the only way you get purpose. So, how do you fix society? You point people towards the church and you go to it and you commit to the practice. You go to the true church, the Orthodox Church. So, when it comes to this whole fighting thing, how do you fight without first making sure you're well armed? Right? How do you fight anything without knowing that you are well armed and well trained with the weapons used, with the weapons necessary? And what I mean by that is like spiritual battle, right? Which is ultimately what all this kind of reduces down to. Um, like you have to be capable of not only knowing how know not only having the weapon itself to fight these spiritual battles, but know how to use them. And I don't think that you can get that from YouTube videos. Right? I think that's the only thing you could get that from is from the church. And that's the only way that things like will like holistically begin to solve the problems. It kind of makes people depressed that, well, we have to wait a little longer. And right now, what can we do? Slow down the problems. What if YouTube videos are from the church? You can get prescriptions from a priest that's a general prescription that doesn't apply to you as an individual. That's why it's important to be a part of the church so you personally can be healed in the way that's necessary. And the priest would know that by knowing you as an individual, not giving you general statements. General statements can help solve small issues. They can't actually solve the big issue, which is you. The big issue is the person, like it's you, it's not literally meaning you, but in like the, I don't know, colloquial, whatever. I can't pronounce that word, but in the sense that you have to be able to completely heal yourself. So one of their Orthodox priests on YouTube, I just gave you the answer because they solve general issues and they're trying to attract people to the church. So that's two things. They give general advice. They give the ideas of what the church has. And then you go to the church, you develop a relationship with the priest. The priest knows you and your particular problems. You solve those problems with him in cooperation with the church so that a more, you become a man, you know. This is the thing. Society doesn't know how to produce men except in a general sense. And even within our culture, the kind of men that's built within it have a lot of weird and fake ideas based on American culture that's what being a man means. This is my, I disagree. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. What I'm trying to say is this: is like there could be people like there's Andrew, and I think even Emmett does this. People that you can give like sound like political ideas that can slow down the problem to a point where there's more time to solve the bigger issue. And the bigger issue is the individuals who just kind of don't take responsibility and try to pass things off, which is a lot of what I think like the prescriptions of the red pill kind of do. I wouldn't even say the red pill. I would say the black pill specifically. Like people like what's her name? That redheaded girl. That's like a 100 foot tall chick. I don't remember her name. I can't remember her name right now, but it is one of those things. Like I think a lot of people waste time. Pearl, yeah, Pearl. That's it. Like she's not like a red pillar, right? She's a black pillar. She goes around blackpilling people, and she does this in a way like you saw it with what she did standing outside of like churches and stuff. Like it's an okay thing to do to kind of expose like people's lack of understanding of certain issues, but it's also like she doesn't understand what submission truly means, and she thinks it's only a thing that women do. Like how is a and this is the thing, like how do people learn things? How does somebody learn how to submit? You do it in a referential, like you do it in a way that you see like a model of it. After the local parishes were established for the Russians. Oh, I didn't read the first part. Priests provide more than just local support. When the Russians began immigrant to Alaska, they sent work back to the church requesting missionary priests to come and establish parishes. After the parishes were established for the Russians, the priests began to wander the land in missions in the native like yeah, I know. Like that's actually something that's really cool about the Russian church and like the history they have in Alaska. Like there's a lot of really interesting stories and saints that kind of came out of that. Like I'd always recommend people to go like read the life of the saints as like a it's like a reference point. But even within like this whole idea of what I'm trying to get at is like we have so many people that are on the right wing that have such huge misconceptions. I was given an equivalent. Yeah, I understand that. Like I think that what I'm talking about when it comes to that kind of stuff is like I don't think that they're like necessarily, and I'm pretty sure they'll even a lot of them will even say this. Like they're not there to really solve individual issues. I know Father Moses answers a lot of questions, but there's still the prescription is go to the church, become part of it, so you can truly be healed. And um, but what I'm ultimately like kind of talking about is the problems with the right now, and how it yeah we could kind of work together, but ultimately like a lot of us are at opposite ends. You keep reading it, and it was for Spartacus. Okay. I was just reading. I was just reading the chat. If somebody types in my chat, I'm, you know, kind of. I guess I'm narcissistic. I just assume it's for me. But like what I'm ultimately trying to get at is like there's so many problems on the right that we could probably all come together to slow down the great issues of what's happening in society. But I don't think that there's actually any solutions within it. I fight him so much from chat that he automatically thinks everyone is. Well, I don't even think you fight me from chat. I think I just think I'm being kind of bad faith when I'm listening to the things you say a lot of the time. That's because of a whole lot of reasons in my personal life that I just think that are going wrong. So I just assume everything's going wrong. But or I'm being attacked when I'm not. But um, like what happens? Do you think you can actually unite the right? No, I don't think that I could. I think only the church can. And I think that's going to take a large amount of time. And I think that the only thing that we can really do with the right wing right now is kind of work with them to slow down the problem. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, not me personally, but the church can. Um, but like the problems are actually so deeply ingrained inside of like liberal culture, which is what we live in, which is what a lot of the right is, that it's not really, there's not really a big solution overall that we could really solve without the church. Which I think over the course of time, over the course of probably the next 50 or 60 years, the church is going to be a very prevalent part of it. Wouldn't it be working with heretics? Well, I mean, as long as it's not like compromising the integrity of the church, and it's not like saying we're all one big happy, you know, go lucky family that we could just push off these big issues. But it's I think as long as it's not like a theological thing, yeah, they can cooperate in trying to get certain political issues passed through. The right isn't actually the right historically. The term right and left come from French Parliament under the parliamentary monarchy. Yeah. So it's kind of like a reference word. Yeah, I understand where like the origins come from. It's just more of like how it's kind of used now is what I'm referring to. Is conservative versus liberal, which doesn't really make any sense because they're all kind of liberals, just to different varying degrees. And like I don't think that I just think within the system that we have, there's no issue with like trying to push for like abolition of abortion and stuff like that with people. Those are the yeah, that's also true. So this is that the what you're saying right there is why I tell everybody that I'm actually more right wing than everybody because I don't. If I'm using like the original French idea, then I'm a monarchist. So I don't. Everyone is literally on the left if I'm using like that classical sense of what it was from the French. Have you the right as striving towards traditionalism? Yeah, but traditional, what type of traditionalism? Traditional liberalism? Traditional, like, kind of republicanism? That's kind of where the problem kind of comes at with me. Again, I understand that the system is and is going to be this way for a long time, and that there's no real way to actually change it as a whole within my lifetime, at least. But there is, how do I word this? There is a like the system that's created within it. This itself is so broken and built off of Enlightenment kind of proto Protestant ideology that it kind of has no way of truly functioning because there's no form of like true submission within the government itself. So there's always going to be people that think that because they can question something, they ought to question it constantly, and it makes a dysfunctional system. So it makes society overall, like you could have it built off those Republican values with it being for a certain type of people, and like it worked for that time period, but it always, within the system that it's created, starts to fray and kind of fall apart. That's the problem with democracy. It's always been the problem with democracy, is it frays. Conserving something that has worked for at least 1,000 years. Well, yeah, that's what I kind of aim for. I think that monarchy, or in having like a divinely installed ruler, is probably the most consistent system that's ever worked in history. To be into thinking of myself as an absolute imperialist, let me see what that is. I'm pretty sure I know, but I want to Google it just to make sure. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's probably what I am too. Like I don't actually think that these other places really have any ability to really say have a say about what goes on in their nation if it's inherently evil. Like I don't think that a lot of places should have sovereign governance. People are dumb; they're just easily influenced if the Holy Spirit. Yeah, I agree with that too. Because like if you think of it as people are just dumb, it kind of it makes it difficult to, like, I think, kind of see the real problem, and it also kind of makes it very easy just to kind of pass off blame on them. I don't think people are dumb. I think they're just easily influenced and apathetic and weak, which is like full circle now, because that's what I think men are right now in a lot of senses in our culture. They're weak. Like, once again, women have their issues, but I don't think that I have the ability to really address those. I can give like an experience point of view from what I've seen, but I can't really like give an internal critique on that. Easily influenced, easily dumb. They can't think. Well, I think people try to think too much for themselves. They have no concept of like submitting themselves to something greater. But hell, what time is it? I got about 30 more minutes. But and also one of the things that I mean by weak, by people being weak, is not having like the mental fortitude to commit to that mind, body, and mind, body, and spirit. They don't do it because they're always thinking, well, what if something happens that I don't like? What if something is going on that I don't personally feel fulfilled by? This was something that I had a conversation with Emmett the other day. It's like, what would I prefer? I would prefer to be able to, this is a no thinking space. For the, well, yeah, I suppose in a way. Well, not really. I actually think way too much. But you'll have to apologize, dude. I don't think you're doing anything wrong. But so when it comes to like weakness, I don't think people actually commit themselves to something greater and they don't actually enact that in their lives in the proper way so that they can be fully. I don't do that. Like I have troubles doing that. It's one of the reasons I haven't been catechized yet is because, I let shit get to me. The only thing you did wrong is think. Probably so. But like um when it comes to the whole idea that it's not your fault, but it is your fight, it ultimately reduces down to kind of taking away the responsibility of each individual and saying, yeah, you were just born in this place and there's nothing you could do about it but fight for it, fight for it to be different. They can't elaborate on catechism. I don't know what you mean. Like it's just the way that you learn to be a part of the church and the importance of the sacraments, as far as I understand. So you're learning how to commit to the practice. Well, I'm hesitant to talk about stuff when it comes to the church because I have no like ability to give any sort of authoritative like position on that. So I'm not going to really try. I'll be careful in the way that I speak about it. The reason that I'm hesitant about it is because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. Like I have personal struggles within the church that are my own that wouldn't apply to anybody else. And honestly, like it's stuff that I should just ignore, but I'm not doing that very well. Because it has nothing to do with like the church itself. It has to do with, I don't know. I don't want to talk about that on the stream. But the easiest way I could describe it is like there's personal struggles that I have within the church that are pretty much my own that really people shouldn't even really pay attention to. And they're my own issues that I'm working through. I'm working through the weakness, right? But ultimately, when it comes down to this idea that it's not your fault, but it is your fight, it takes away the individual responsibility for keeping that kind of system going. Do you think anyone else shares the struggle? Maybe, but I don't. Like, this is the thing. On the internet, people will take things that I say and will use that as a method to attack the church. And I'm not willing to throw weapons towards them so they can have some way of attacking the church when it's not even the church that's the problem. It's me. That's all I'm ultimately trying to say with that. But what time is it? All right. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is like when it comes to the whole, it's your fault, but it's your fight. Like to me, it creates like this passivity towards the responsibility that each individual had for creating that system and fostering it. And it might not. be you as an individual to blame for the societal condition, but what it ultimately means is that if you were doing anything in any way to kind of like passively allow it to occur, then yeah, it is kind of your fault. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean by like there's instances like say I don't know, you're a part of a friend group and one of the people in your friend groups like is a complete degenerate, and he's one of those red pillars that think you have to sleep with like 40 or 50 women to be worldly enough to actually find a wife. Something insane like that. What is it, 1,000 subs to hit the dono button? Well, no, I could be monetized right now. I'm just lazy about it and I don't do this stuff to make money. I'm probably going to set that up soon because I do need more money. But and I'm going to have to get another job. So I was thinking about trying to make this as like a big minimum wage. Then I would do it. Then I would do this over getting another job. But okay, so anyways, say that you're in a situation, you're in a friend group, and there's somebody being that's kind of a degenerate, maybe has the idea of like the red pill, kind of you have to sleep with 40 or 50 women to be worldly enough to be able to find a good wife. Like that whole idea, first of all, doesn't make any sense because you don't have to sleep with women to understand the content of their character. You do that by having conversations with them. You do that with like being willing to I guess kind of scare somebody off by asking kind of intrusive questions about their character. And that's what I think a lot of men don't do and they don't commit to because they're more worried about like, oh God, this person's going to hate me if I ask this question and I disagree with them. But like, yeah, that could happen. But those are questions and conversations that you have to have with somebody before you can even know if they're marriage material, I guess. It's not the sleeping with them that makes them, gives you knowledge of whether they're marriage material or not. So it's just like correcting people in that way in like friend groups. And even like, I'll say this, I had an incident with JS like a few months ago where he was really wanting to meet up with somebody to coom, right? And like he was already saying, like, if the chance comes up, he would take it. So, and the only reason I'm talking about this publicly because it was all on a public stream that this happened. But like it was just me for almost a month straight berating him, like saying like if you're not doing the right thing, you're not you're not doing the right thing. You're setting yourself up for a temptation that's ultimately not good for you or the other person. So why even do it? So so that's what I mean by kind of being too passive. A lot of men are too passive within like trying to find a wife and too scared to scare a woman off because oh I've asked so many women out and only this one out of like 100 had said yes. So I'm going to be extremely delicate and careful with everything that I say and ask because I don't want to scare this one opportunity off, which is insane. Like you're setting yourself up for a lot of problems in the issue. Hit you up on Discord after. Well, I'm about to, once I end this, I'm going to go to work, so I won't probably be around till like almost 10 o'clock at night today. But I can. But so a lot of what the issues is the weakness of men and not putting out standards and not like fulfilling those standards to make proper relationships because that's what men do. They kind of lay the outline of what relationships are. They're the gatekeepers of relationships in a general sense. And them not fulfilling that role also creates a lot of problems because they're too worried about losing opportunity. Some men say that they're intimidated by good women and it's just easier to go after whores. Well, yeah, like, well, this is the thing that it depends on like the value set of what the man is seeking. If they're a degenerate and they're just seeking decorum, then yeah, a good woman would be intimidating. But to me, you know, I don't think that good women are intimidating. They're just like rare. They're rare and should be valued and cherished, and they should be supported. Not to the it's super extreme where you accidentally make them narcissistic, but to a point where that's a valued part of society that needs to be kind of supported by any man, like so just supported. Because a lot of people, a lot of men, especially online, they're all for like shaming the bad parts of the women in our society, but they're not for supporting the good parts, the good women. So that's all also a failure of men in a way. Well, not in a way, it is. So when it comes to like what is happening with men right now, it's just them not truly wanting to commit and fulfill that role that they have. There's outlines to relationships. Men are the ones that lay those outlines. And if they don't, then things grow out of whack. And there's all this intimidating stuff. Like, you ask 100 women out, one says yes, so you don't want to scare them off. Which, I'm gonna be honest, it's not been a super big problem for me because, look, I'm a pretty boy. Okay, I'm a very pretty boy. Anyways, yes, sorry. Okay, I try not to go into troll mode. Um, so like when it comes to that aspect of it, I think that men are weak without lying, and maybe it's because they are afraid, but you shouldn't be afraid of these types of things. Because I was having a conversation the other day with Emmett, or yesterday with Emmett, about like what would I prefer? What I prefer is to within the church is to be married and kind of be in the church in that way within like a true marriage. But that's what I would prefer. But ultimately, like you have to come to grips with like there are only so many good women in the world. They are kind of rare, and I have no desire or like want to train a woman, right? I don't think that I should have to do that. I think women are adults and they should conduct themselves in that way. And I don't think that I should have to basically, in a sense, finish raising them so that they could be in a relationship with me. I don't like that. I'm not going to do that. I will never do that. Anybody that I ever interact with is because I think they're a fully functional human, like woman who is moral. So there's only like a handful of those. So what I would say my preference is to do that, is to be part of, but I don't think it's bad for men to want to kind of help women in that way. I don't think it's bad to do that. I just don't think it's not something I want to do. I have no desire for it. So the way that I see it is that, I kind of have two choices. Hey, Emmett, I kind of have two choices, right? I have a choice of just kind of not really worrying about it. I think that's the big key issue. I don't worry about it. And I think that's what a lot of men should do. They just shouldn't really worry about it. If you want to truly if you really want to be married, then you're going to have to do a lot of work on individual women to be able to have them functioning in their proper role because they forgot how to do it. But to do that, you need to be able to fulfill your role. And if you're unable to do that, you need to go someplace where you can learn how to do that. The best place to do that is the church. But yeah, that's kind of like the whole thing that I was thinking about today. What time is it? I got 15 more minutes. But it does ultimately just revolve around people taking responsibility. And I would tell men on a very broad sense that yes, it is your fault. It is your fucking fault. I shouldn't have been doing stuff an hour ago. Why you do this? Oh, I should have been doing stuff an hour ago. Why you do this? Well, I can't help it. Sometimes I have to sit here and rant. What I missed? You missed everything. It's all over. But I do think that like ultimately people have to quit being such bitches. That's my prescription for people in general. Quit being a bitch. There you go. Like a lot of people, like when I used to do VK and stuff, like that would be something that I would say a lot because, like, it's what VK is kind of about, just like saying really aggressive things constantly and kind of like navigating through the panel to be relevant enough to be noticed by it. But yeah, what the whole thing about, like, I've been pretty consistent over the past 2 or 3 years of everything that I've kind of said on the internet is, quit being bitches. Just stop. Look at yourself. Correct yourself. You're not going to solve anything by being weak. But without my rusty bitch face, I'm not scary anymore. Well, this is the thing. Like, okay, so we're already pretty much done with the topic. I'm gonna have to go in like 10 minutes. I'll go ahead and give a history lesson about my family. My family has a long line of resting bitch face. It comes from my mother's side. My great grandmother was the most intimidating looking woman of all time, and and because of that, most of my family, but from that side, has become very intimidating looking just based on her. I think. I've been threatened to be banned if I'm a bitch. Well, I'm sorry, Emmett. Rules are rules. You know. But I've been threatened to be banned if I'm a bitch. No, what's happened is that well, no, it's not about being a bitch. It's referring to yourself as one. That's the rule. You know, on Emmett stream, you would get timed out if you did that, but here Emmett gets timed out because we blame men for everything because this is a feminist stream. All right, so now I'm transitioning into full troll mode. But it was something I wanted to talk about before. Like, yeah, even like on my time on VK, like I actually value that time a lot. Like I learned a lot from doing all that stuff. I think VK is kind of an important tool that people can use to learn how to debate. And I think people worry about the prize money a little bit too much because it's like it's kind of a game show. It's like yeah, the money could be a reasoning to do it, but I don't think that anybody should do it for that reason. I do it. I've always treated VK as like a kind of like an arena to train the way that I train. It's like an arena that I went to train myself to be able to make logical arguments. But tell me who threatened you? I don't think anybody was threatening anybody. Cat, Cat was just doing the meme where you get timed out for 10 seconds. But I will say this: like, I learned a lot from VK, and that I went and then this is something I'll always value about JS. Right? I don't think that I think ultimately, like, I outgrew being able to debate around there. I think there's a handful of good people that know and are trying to like debate there, but like I always value JS and giving me that good foundation of being able to give somewhat of an apologetic or give some apologetics for what the true church is and being consistent with that. So I always value him for that, but I don't know if there's ever going to be any way of convincing him of anything. So I threatened to time you out if you refer to yourself as such. Yeah, and here, Emmett, you get timed out if she refers herself as such. Panels are useless for it. I agree with that too. I do think that it's kind of useless as like I think a viewer to really get anything out of it truly. But I think if you're trying to learn like the groundwork of being able to give like a consistent logical argument, there is value to them on a personal level. And also like there is value in panels in that they can be fun. Like it's fun to go joke around with people every once in a while. Well, that's kind of what I do here, right? Like I don't whenever I'm playing a game, I in the Discord because I just want to joke. Like I'm just here to joke around. Everything, most of the stuff that I do here is a joke. Very rarely, like unless there's something that's like happening that I know about that I kind of want to give like an unauthoritative, like just my personal opinion view on something, then I'll talk about it because I think that a lot of like the drama that happens that it's actually important between like Christians or like little C Christians and Orthodox is kind of really insane and bad faith on the little seaside. So that's my alarm. I got 5 minutes. The panels are great until you get people who can't handle themselves and their emotions. Well, I mean that's the thing too. Is like a lot of panels. Like if you're not in really good control of yourself, it could be a very emotional thing because you're like being ignored. People are passing over you. You're trying to give an opinion that you think is right, but nobody wants to actually engage with it. So there, if you're not in control of yourself, it can become like kind of gay, and somebody will just randomly start crying. Panels overstimulate. Everyone talks at once. Yeah, that's why I don't like treat panels as like a. I don't treat panels as like something that I'll ever learn anything from. I'm not going to listen to a panel because I think I'm going to learn something from it. I'm usually listening to it because it's funny or it's like it's just a group of people I like hanging out with. That's what I do on my channel. I just like I let people. I play games. I listen to. I play. I'm on Discord, and I just let people who want to come joke around with me come up. Sometimes there'll be some deep conversations that happen. You know, usually while I'm playing Cuphead, but or that subliminal game. Every once in a while that happens, but I think that when it's like limited to just a bunch of people who actually like don't want to come at each other from like a really aggressive if it's not a bunch of people like trying to aggressively just support their worldview, but it's like an actual conversation where people want to understand better, and there are people there that actually give a shit about one another. I think that produces better, more fruitful conversations that people might be able to learn something from. They do join panels that can be fun at times, but 90% of the people should shut the fuck up. Well, yeah. Well, a lot of those panels, a lot of people go to are just kind of like like they're just friend groups talking shit. They don't really care if they're right or not. You let me come up and play 21 questions. Well, yeah, because you. This is the thing. Like you have to be intelligent to be able to ask good questions, right? Whoever ever said that there's no such thing as stupid questions was a fucking retard. So it's, but I do think like ultimately what I would do on my channel is I'm not going to like let a bunch of people come and argue and yell at screaming at each other over random shit. Unless it's like, troll bullshit like Voltaire breaking into my house and knocking over my lamp and trying to cook hot dogs in my kitchen. Then I'll spurred about that. Problem is always I've always had with panels is you tried to run down a line with somebody 100% of the time you get two questions in the question slash position deep and someone else has to open their mouth. Yeah. Well, no, I agree with you on that. Like that's kind of a problem I have with a lot of panels. Like even with like this is how I had to kind of like handle JS's panel, which if I want to have a conversation with JS, I have to be fucking vicious towards the other people so they shut up. Nothing I have to say is important enough to be on stage. Yeah, it is. Like you know more than like 90% of those people that talk about, especially like medical shit. They don't know anything that they're talking about. I have a very baseline understanding for when I was trying to study in like my late teens how to become a doctor. I have a baseline understanding, and I know more than them. So you know more, way more than me. So there's value in what they say. What you say. But the problem, that's what I've had to deal, like going on to JS's. It always, and it starts out with like just waiting till they're done with their topic, me saying something that I know will bait JS into a conversation about about what I want to talk about, and then me spurging on the people around me to shut the fuck up and to not get involved unless you want me to drag you out to show you how stupid you are. Like the last time I went on JS is like people kind of forgot about that. I hadn't been around a while, so like some people just completely forgot about that and thought that they could like somehow be I guess like a judge on the conversation that I'm trying to have. But they can't because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Whatever criticism they have for me applies three times threefold to them. First thing that I ever said to you was shut the fuck up. Well, that was a meme. That was a pretty good meme. That was good timing. That was good comedic timing. Jesus, who probably thinks he's so humble, but no way. Well, yeah, that's kind of the problem, right? Like even there was one part in that conversation that I had with him where he was like judging me on the fact that I think that the religion of Judaism is the synagogue of Satan, and I don't judge the individuals of the ethnicity, but I do hate the religion itself. And that was me. That was just turning into me hating the ethnicity, and then turning into like, well, I really don't think this is a good idea. And then I was like, well, I really don't think it's a good idea to break with your scriptures that you use for all of your arguments. And then it's like, well, okay, go ahead and burn and die. Like, and then to accuse me of saying like, I give salvific claims. I never do that. I will say this: there have been a couple times where I've been tempted to spurg out on Emmett and tell him to shut up. There have been a few times, but I've controlled myself, and I figured out that I don't think that that would actually work with Emmett. I think with Emmett, I have to be like, look, dude, I'm not trying to escalate this right now. Don't you spurg on my father. Well, sometimes I'm a spurg machine. Sometimes, like, I really want to spurg, but that you can't do that with everybody. Otherwise, it just escalates more. David trolled a bunch during Elder's Degenerate. It was, to be fair, like I was calling out the degeneracy. I'm just gonna say, like out of all, like every time, like out of that stream, I was the one that came out the least degenerate. The hell, I'm gonna have to go. I've actually went 5 minutes over the time that I should have, but I gotta go. I gotta go to work. Um, I may end up streaming. I may end up streaming some more random horror games tonight for a couple hours. We'll see how that goes. I appreciate everyone that stopped by. Typing games. And I already beat the typing game. I need maybe next week we'll play another typing game when I can afford the $20 price tag of the other one. But I have a good one. I'm gonna go. Probably go. I'm gonna go to McDonald's if I still have time. But anyways, I have a good one.